the iceberg with a grand polar, coming to you over the Ethernet and into your ears.
So firstly, thank you so much, by the way, for giving us the chance to appear on your show and choosing us to do an interview with. I appreciate that opportunity. So Beautiful Skeletons actually started as just a very casual jam project about 4 years ago, right before COVID hit. And we had a different lineup then. There was only 3 of us. We took us a while to find a bass player. We found a bass player and a guitarist, and we all kind of became more cohesive at that time. And then we had our bassist and our guitarist at that time drop out, and it was just back to the 3 of us. So we struggled with that. So essentially what I'm saying is we've been together for a while, but really hadn't quite like come into full bloom as a band until about a year ago. We had our first show back in, I want to say 2019, and it was right before the world shut down. I mean, we were all hearing about it, right? But then literally the day after our first show, the governor of Washington closed all the bars, all the venues. You know, it was like, it took us so long to get to that point. And then we had all of these great lineups booked, and then boom, you know, the world has other plans. And so that kind of put the kibosh on what we were doing at that time. And so I think like with a lot of other bands and musicians at that moment, everybody was just kind of feeling lost. Like we didn't know what was going to happen in the next year or so. Fortunately, during that time, we actually ended up using it very constructively. We solidified a lot of songs that were just kind of floating in the ether prior to that. And we had a few different members kind of pop in and out. And once we emerged back in 2021, 22 was about when we started playing. So really the beginning of this year, we kind of hit the ground full force as we intended to 2 years prior, but everything opened back up at that time. So we were able to do that. And that's how Beautiful Skeletons started. So as of today, we're still a 4-piece. And we have a drummer that kind of floats in and out depending on if we're touring or not. But we never started at the half pace. You know, we just kind of hit the ground running and haven't looked back since. And all of us have been in other bands, and we're all seasoned musicians, but really fell in love with this particular sound.
Yeah, it's a common theme that all the bands that I've spoken to with COVID. I mean, I had one band in Finland. It was Wales actually. They were about to do their album launch. Bars got shut. So they rescheduled it because they thought everything was opening up again. Bars got shut again. Reopened it, and like 18 months later, they said, well, they're finally getting the album out. But they did the same thing, is they just went back to the album and kept on tweaking it and, you know, just getting it things. So I suppose that's the one positive that's come out of the whole thing. But
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I feel like everybody talked a lot about like the dynamics of mental health and work. And, you know, for those who were already sort of immunocompromised prior, it became really perilous for them to even go to a store. But even besides all of that stuff as well, I feel like the one segment of the population that was so affected that really nobody talks about was the music industry. I mean, concerts, venues, budding musicians, new musicians, everybody kind of just fell under the water and was like, holy shit, we don't know if we're coming back from this, you know? So it was kind of a scary time to be a musician.
Yeah. But now everything is going full force. And I just can't keep up with the amount of releases that are coming out at the moment. It is insanity. I mean, you know, all the record labels just keep on sending me the stuff, and I'm going, but I'm like, sort of like, can you wait 6 months? Because my show's only 2 hours. I can't play all this stuff.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. The resurgence is real, definitely.
Yeah. And also, I expect you found as well in the live gigs, the audiences are also a lot more receptive and hungry for live music again. Yeah.
Very much so. Very much so.
It's one of those things. Tina, your influences, how did you get started in music? and who are your main influences?
Yeah, it's kind of a funny story. Actually, everybody laughs when I talk about my main influence. They just don't expect it. I actually grew up on Barbra Streisand and Whitney Houston and just like all the big main female divas from that time period, because my mom, that's primarily what she listened to, and my dad loved disco. So it was ABBA. So my early influences are nothing like people just assume. Oh, you must have grew up on Kitty, and all of these are like really mainstream female fronted hard metal bands. Honestly, I mean, I was all about myself some Barbra Streisand. I could sing every song off the soundtrack for Hello Dolly. I loved that style of music. And I also discovered later that I liked blues as well. And it wasn't really until I hit high school and started listening to Alanis Morissette that I realized, those things can all exist in the same field. You can meld all those things together. So you'll find that a lot of times I have a lot of bluesy type influence in my hard rock songs. So I would say, like, as far as influences go, really like the influences pertinent to what I do now, I'd say more along the lines of Alanis Morissette, Sarah McLachlan, Tori Amos, strong female leads. And then, of course, Kitty, Evanescence, Flyleaf, some of the harder bands as well.
And well, he can't say anything, but can you speak for Einar? Would you know?
Yes, actually I can. So I know for a fact that Einar was very heavily influenced by Jerry Cantrell. He's a huge Alice in Chains fans. He sort of comes from a different era, and that's what's really interesting about our band in general. All four of us grew up in very different places and in different times. So all of our influences are very different from each other. I grew up on an island in the South Pacific. Einar is a first generation Icelandic. His son is our drummer, who was raised here in the United States. And then our bassist also raised in the US. So we all have quite an eclectic mix of influences.
Yeah, I just have to tell you this, and it's a throwaway thing. But in South Africa, we've got a language called Afrikaans. And Einar in Afrikaans means ow or ouch.
Oh my goodness. I love that. I know he can't respond right now, but I'm sure that he's laughing. That is amazing.
From now on, you can call him ouch.
I'm gonna have to do that. That's amazing. I'm sure he'll like that better than everybody else trying to pronounce his name incorrectly. That's wonderful.
The EP, well, we've actually kind of discovered that. But one thing I did notice was, and I can understand it more now, is the track River Runs Dry is very different to everything else.
Right.
And I have to ask why.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, I'll start with this. River Runs Dry was a song that Einar had been writing for something like 10 plus years. And the main underlying message of that song is really the journey of his mom and himself through the road of alcohol, sobriety, and then death. And the main theme for that is like forgiveness, perspective, and moving past grief. Because when we released the song, when the music video went live was her birthday, and when we actually talked about the song was the day that she passed. And if you'd watch the video, you'll see there's dedications to her within the video and stuff. But it was very interesting because he had been writing that for a long time, and I just kind of swooped in. And I remember this was during the COVID times, we were sitting in the garage in his house, and he had his acoustic, and I was singing, and like he brought this song up, and I was like, that's a beautiful song. I don't want to fuck it up. Like, don't give me carte blanche on this song. And he's like, no, fuck it up. Go ahead, do it, And so we ended up collaborating on it. And we always had it in our back pocket because for the two of us, him and I are the core members. So we've had people come in and out, but him and I have a musical connection that's just otherworldly. I mean, he could pick up a guitar and convey his thoughts musically, and I will come up with them lyrically and not know exactly what he was thinking, but the ideas would match. So when we collaborated on River Runs Dry, I was really surprised. We went into the studio and he insisted that he wanted to have River Runs Dry as an acoustic piece at the end of the EP. And I remember giving him shit about it. Like, that's going to be really strange, dude. I mean, all these hard songs, and then we get to number 5 and it's just acoustic with a little, symphony in the background. And he insisted. And I said, okay. And then as it turns out, that was actually a beautiful song. It came out beautifully. And I feel like it really encompassed the fact that we are not a band that goes into one category. If you don't like variety, which in our opinion, variety is the spice of life, right? If you don't like variety in your rock or your metal, Beautiful Skeletons is not your band. The Pacific Northwest is full of metalheads. We have a huge metal community here. But metalheads are so elitist sometimes, right? They have that one genre of metal. And if you don't fall into that genre, you're not hard enough or you're too hard. Well, fuck that. We don't care about any of that. We're making music for the sake of what sounds good. And that was one of those things that was like, we just knew, we felt that pull, that musical pull, and we followed it. And, it surprised some people, but at the same time, it's a very big testament to our variety.
No, absolutely. And that's why I picked up on you, because I listened to it and I thought, no, this isn't like a one-trick pony band that's just like, we know how to really like waggle our hair around and shout and scream and growl and carry on. We can actually we can do other stuff, and that's exactly why I picked up on it. So, and it seems to be doing all right as well on the listings. Yeah,
I would definitely agree with that. Yeah, I mean, I was afraid we were going to alienate some small part of our audience, but honestly, not a single person had anything negative to say. Everybody was actually quite positive about it. So yeah, I mean, as much as I hate to say I was wrong, I was definitely wrong about that one, and I'm sure Einar's smiling in the background somewhere. But yeah, it was a good move, and it really does represent sort of the different dynamics of our range. I always say we're the one band. We could go to a metal fest, right, in Michigan, and just scream and double kick our way and blast beat our way through that place. But then we could also take our acoustics, and like a bongo or something, and walk across the street and do the same set acoustically with a 100% different feel for, a non-metal crowd. We could easily do that.
And that's what you need to be able to do if you're going to make a difference in the industry. Absolutely. The future plans for the band. I mean, okay, you've just released the EP. Obviously, you're going to start touring a lot now and gigging.
Yeah,
Is
absolutely.
That going to be like locally, or have you got bigger plans?
Well, I will tell you that, again, we never do anything halfway. So our very first tour was with Yngwie Malmsteen. That was a very jarring moment for me when I realized that we had that kind of like set to go, and it seemed so unreal, and then we got through that whole tour with him, and it just kind of set this like bar. So here we are. If this is our first tour with Yngwie, how the hell do we, get to that next level for second and third tour and stuff? So we joke a lot. 2023 is the year that Beautiful Skeletons will get in your brain. It's world domination for us, all or nothing. We have another tour coming up in April, and we have something sort of brewing for the summer season. Ideally, we would like to play outside of our region more to kind of build up the fan base across the US. And I would love to, and I know the band would love to do Canada as well. And eventually Europe, of course. But starting off now, just sort of taking the US by storm and making our way a little bit further up north. That's what's on the roster for now. So busy for 2023. We're already booked out into August. Cool. So lots of good things coming.
And the connection with Yngwie Malmsteen, how did that come about? I mean, it's not just something that, let's find a band to like open up.
Yeah.
There must
Oh, I know. It was crazy when we had a couple different offers, tour offers for that first tour, and we had turned the first one down, and we just kind of like, there's something else brewing on the horizon, maybe something a little bit bigger. And then the second opportunity was the opportunity with Ingve, and we knew that that's why we sort of turned that first one down. We knew there was something better. Our manager, Paul Crosby, he's the drummer, was the drummer for Saliva, which was a very big hard rock band and new metal band back in the 90s. And he now manages a small handful of bands that he personally believes in. And he happened to be speaking with Chuck, who manages bands like Ingve on his roster for Artists Worldwide, along with many other big names. And, they had presented the opportunity to us, and we said, yes, absolutely. How could we turn that down? Not knowing exactly what we were getting ourselves into. So we kind of just did it and got there and learned the hard way. But you know what? They were amazing. Ingve's crew is amazing. I actually had never seen him live. None of us had. And as much as people have lots to say about rock stars' personalities and like how particular they are, every night that they went on, it was perfect. And it didn't matter if it was a tiny venue in the middle of Illinois somewhere, or a huge venue in the middle of North Carolina with thousands of people. They put the same show on every night. Very inspiring, very inspiring. But yeah, we owe that opportunity to Chuck with Artists Worldwide, and then of course with our manager Paul Crosby.
Cool. One thing I am going to spring on you, which is a little fun thing.
Okay.
It's something called this.
My favorite test.
Yes. It's 10 easy questions.
Okay. Let's do it.
It's really great fun. There's no right or wrong answer. Just say the first thing that comes into your head.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Ready. Rice. Oof. Bowling Green. Kitty. Green. Ronin. Cruel by Tori Amos. Dog. Jack Nicholson. Coke Zero. Your radio show, of course. I love that.
I told you it's not hard.
Love it. Love it.
And congratulations. You are one of the few people not to use Johnny Depp as their favorite actor.
Really? That's very surprising.
I would say a 90% hit rate. It's Johnny Depp.
What? That's so weird.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess, Johnny Depp's definitely not. Compared to Jack Nicholson, no, thank you.
I love Jack Nicholson as well. From The Shining all the way through.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. All those ones. Brilliant.
So many. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, when I think of Johnny Depp, I think of like Pirates of the Caribbean and the movies that my kids like to watch, not as like an adult. I can't really think of anything as an adult that I liked him in. I mean, I'm sure he's a great guy, but Jack Nicholson, I just can't hold a candle to him.
Well, I mean, he's not too bad musically either. I don't know if you've seen him with the Hollywood Vampires.
So somebody told me the other day. Yeah.
You must look it up on YouTube. He does a cover version of Heroes, David Bowie's Heroes. It's actually, and I'm a big Bowie fan, it's actually, I think, better than Bowie's version.
Whoa.
It's more current. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I mean,
now you made me curious. I'm going to have to check that out for sure.
Go YouTube it. Yeah. Johnny Depp Heroes. There's two versions, one in the studio and one live, I think, with Alice Cooper and those guys.
And now is he playing bass or guitar?
He's playing guitar, but
Guitar.
I wouldn't put him in. I wouldn't put him in a Malmsteen category.
Okay, no scallop neck.
Yeah, like, he's
No.
he's sort of an average rhythm guitarist type thing.
Okay, I'll have to check that out. I
Yeah.
remember hearing that he and Manson had played. Marilyn
Yes.
Manson had played
Yeah.
together. But yeah, I had not actually checked his project out, so I will do that.
Yeah. Cool. Tina, thank you very much. I think we got more than enough.
Excellent.
I'll edit.